Good evening, sir. May I pour you some water? Good evening, he repeats, stretching the vowels until they snap. May I pour you some water? Laughter pops like corks. Glass meets glass. My name tag shines under chandelier light and my tongue goes still. I said water, I answer, steady. Still or sparkling? Still or sparkling, he mimics, hunching his shoulders, widening his mouth as if my accent is a costume he can wear and toss. You pick, sweetheart. Surprise us. A woman to his left giggles into a napkin. Do they train you to sound like that? Like what? I ask. Like television, the CEO says, smirking. Late-night comedy. Say auction again. Auction, I say. Auction, he caws, stabbing the air with his fork. Did you hear that? That's premium. Knives scrape plates. A man in a velvet jacket snorts. Where do they find you people? I feel my cheeks heat, but my hand doesn't shake. I pour. You'll have the sea bream or the beef? The beef, he says, lifting his chin. Give us the beef, darling. You do beef? You do it good? We do it right, I answer. Right, he echoes. Right. He taps his glass with a ring that could pay someone's rent for half a year. Do you like working here? You get to watch the real world. I get to watch, I say. Yes, the best show in town, he grins. Money moving. Names made. History sold and bought. And accents, oh, the accents. A man with a cufflink shaped like a yacht leans back. She's cute. Leave her alone. Cute is for puppies, the CEO says. This is performance. He raises his voice. Give us your best line, sweetheart. Something classy. Say Chateau Margaux without scaring the bottle. I keep my eyes level. Would you like a 2015 Chateau Margaux? He claps slow. She rehearsed. I listened, I say. Do you hear that? She listens, he tells his table. That's why she's here, to listen while better people talk. Chairs creak. No one gets up. The auctioneer's voice carries from the stage, promising a night of rare lots and rarer legends. Stand in a ring of entertained faces. A quiet prop and a loud joke. Anything else for you? I ask. Your number, he says, and his friends roar. I'm generous. I'll upgrade you from trays to tray adjacent. I have a job, I say. Everyone has a job, he replies. Some people have futures. The woman with the napkin looks at me over the rim of her glass. You shouldn't take him seriously. He's not heavy, I say. He just makes noise. The CEO leans closer. I smell expensive cologne and cheaper courage. Where are you from? No, let me guess. Somewhere that exports talent and imports aid. I weigh the tray in my palms. My father's voice threads through the din. Dignity is armor. Wear it even when they aim for your throat. I'm from a family that taught me to serve without bowing, I say. Serve without bowing, he repeats, as if tasting a foreign fruit. New slogan for the waitstaff union. A man to his right stares into his glass. Come on, he mutters, barely sound. Enough. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't look at him. He looks at the ice. Enough? The CEO laughs. Of course not. We're just warming up. Sweetheart, say portfolio. Your steak will be medium rare, I say. No sauce unless you ask. I always ask, he says. I ask and I receive. The laughter turns soft, syrupy, sticky. It runs down my shoulders and tries to hold me in place. Shift my weight, not my ground. Would anyone else like wine? I ask, scanning the table. Eyes slip away like fish. A man lifts 2 fingers for a top-up without lifting his gaze to my face. You see? The CEO says. Service economy. Invisible hands. She loves it. Tell them you love it. I love when people speak to me like I am here, I say. He grins wider, a stripe of teeth. You are here because we are here. No we, no you. That's economics. I learned a different equation, I answer. He throws his head back. She learned. She learned numbers and words and service with a smile. Maybe she'll learn to take a joke. I take orders, I say. I don't take disrespect. The table goes quiet for a half breath. Someone coughs. A spoon tings a plate. The auctioneer announces the first lot, a foundations painting, and applause swells, grateful for a new sound. Look at that, he murmurs. A boundary. That accent found a backbone. It was already there, I say. Then try this backbone on something fun, he replies, lifting his paddle. Say 1 million like you mean it. 1 million, I say evenly. He swings the paddle lazily. Cute. Watch how grown-ups do it. Numbers fire from his mouth like confetti. 253, 350. He delights in his own velocity. I refill glasses. A waiter brushes past me and doesn't meet my eyes. In the corner, a security guard checks his watch and then the floor and then the wall. The carpet swallows steps in complicity. Tell me, the CEO says as the lot hammers. Do you dream in that accent? I dream in my father's words, I whisper. Dignity is armor. Armor? He chuckles. Darling, money is armor. Mine doesn't dent. I set down a fresh basket of bread. Metal remembers the hammer, I say. Even if it doesn't admit the bruise. Poetry, he declares, waving to his table. The help does poetry now. Pour me something that costs more than her monthly wages. Would you like the Margot? I ask. Would I like? Of course I'd like. Pour, 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 he sings, and the table hums with obedient laughter. I pour. The liquid bulges against the lip and settles. My hand does not shake. My neck is a column. My back is a line. Smile, he says, angling his phone as if my discomfort is a brand he can collect. People pay more when the show is good. I'm working, I say, working the room, he counters. Tell you what, if you nail the next pronunciation test, I'll leave you a tip that buys you a better whatever you people buy. I look at him. Respect, I say. We buy respect. He barks a laugh that draws nearby faces. Respect is least, he says. Month to month. Credit check required. Then check yours, I say softly. It's overdrawn. A hush falls like dust. Not a silence that protects me. A silence that measures me. The woman with the napkin blinks, then smirks toward her plate. The man with the yacht cufflink bites off a smile and chooses the safer betrayal. Nothing. The auctioneer calls the room to attention for the signature evening lots, voice shining with practiced excitement. Applause breaks the standoff. My lungs catch and release. Run along, sweetheart, the CEO says, recovering with a smirk that pretends nothing touched him. Bring the beef. Bring your armor. Bring your dictionary. I'll bring the bill, I answer, and the corner of his mouth twitches. I step back, the tray warm in my hands, pulse steadying as if finding a drum I'd misplaced. My father's words press into my skin like a hand between my shoulder blades. Stand up inside yourself when they kneel on your name. In the aisle, I breathe. I count, I do not cry. I move behind me, laughter restarts, thinner now, stretched over something it can't cover. Ahead of me, the auction climbs toward numbers that scrabble against the ceiling. I feel the tilt of the night changing, not in them yet, but in me. I grip the tray harder and walk toward the kitchen, my mouth forming the words I'll need later, my spine remembering its shape, my dignity cinched tight like armor. The door swings and the clang of plates gives me a private courage. Still or sparkling, I whisper to myself, and I hear the steel in it. I turn back toward the hall. Bring us more bread, sweetheart, he calls. His tone sharp as broken glass. More bread, I reply. More breed, he drags the syllables like a parody, holding his mouth wide. Did you hear that? That's culture, served warm in slices. The table explodes in laughter. One man pounds the table with his palm. Another slaps his thigh. Their joy sticks to me like grease. I place the basket down, steady. Here you are, sir. Here you are, sir, he mimics, making his friends howl again. I should hire her for my comedy hour. Someone across the table murmurs cruel, almost under his breath. He doesn't look at me, doesn't repeat it. His wine glass becomes more fascinating than my face. I feel the sting crawl up my neck, but my back stays straight. My father's voice hovers, telling me not to bow, not to give them the gift of my breaking. Anything else? I ask. Yes, the CEO grins. Say champagne. Let's see what we get tonight. Champagne, I answer. Champagne, he bellows, exaggerating every consonant, as if my voice is clay for him to twist. His friends roar. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Somebody tip her a dictionary. My chest burns hot, but my hands stay calm. I pour the golden liquid, steady as stone. A woman with pearls around her neck glances at me. Her lips part as if she might speak, but she closes them again. She looks away, sips, and vanishes into the safety of silence. The CEO raises his glass. To the accents that make us laugh and the money that makes us kings. Glasses clink. No one objects. Their tone stabs me deeper than their words. Inside, I whisper, they laugh, but laughter isn't power. Dignity is power, and mine is not for sale. I pivot, ready to walk away when I feel a tug at my sleeve. A younger waitress leans close, whispering, "Don't let them break you. You're stronger than their noise." I meet her eyes just for a second. In them, I see what the room tried to erase. Acknowledgement, quiet defiance, a small flame passed from one soul to another. I straighten taller, tray firm in my grip. "Enjoy your meal," I say. Voice even. The CEO smirks, already turning back to his table. "We will. We always do." But I hear the weakness in his laugh now, thinner, stretched. The wound he meant for me has begun to cut him instead. I walk on, carrying silence like armor, and carry with me the whisper of an ally that promises I am not entirely alone. The room's laughter needles my skin, and something older than tonight taps my ribs. I hear my father first, not the auctioneer. "Dignity is the armor they cannot strip away," he tells me again, as if he's beside me. Steam rising from chipped cups, night pressing at our kitchen window. "Armor," I whisper into the noise. "I'm wearing it," he answers from memory. "Wear it when they tug. Armor only matters when pulled." I'm back at the table where he unlaced steel-toed boots after the late shift. "They did the joke again," he said, rubbing the ache from his heel. "The one where my name is a hurdle." "What did they say?" I asked, small and burning. He breathed out slow. "Danielle is too much," they said. "Danny is easier to yell across the line. Easier to write on forms. Easier to forget later." "What did you say?" I pressed. "My name is Daniel," he told me, eyes steady. "I work faster when you respect me." And then? "I needed him to win. They laughed," he said. "Not all of them. Enough to make quiet seem sensible." "You didn't bow," I said. "I bent to pick up bolts," he answered. I did not bow. I carried that like a talisman, bend to work, never to contempt. Another night he unfolded a crumpled schedule. "Overtime went missing," he said, tapping the blank where his name should be. "They gave it to the manager's nephew." "That's theft," I said. "It's a costume," he replied. "They dress theft in fit and chemistry, and we'll get you next week." "Did anyone challenge them?" I asked. The question sat there. Even I could feel its weight. "They looked at their shoes," he said. "Shoes do not disagree. Shoes keep paychecks safe. You spoke?" I spoke, he nodded. I said, "If you take from me, name the taking." And the room got warm with people choosing silence. I see the fluorescent light, the buzz, the clipboard, though I'm not there. I see it because he put it in my hands. I taste the metal of the factory air he carried home in his hair. On a Saturday, I brought his lunch. I remember the foreman's grin. "Hey, Danny," the man called, letting the vowels slide. "Your kid speaks better English than you." I turned to my father, looking for the crack in him. He said, "My kid speaks 2 tongues. That's more doors," the foreman chuckled at the men. 2 tongues, 2 opinions. He nudged a box toward my father. "Lift, Danny, smile for the company tour." "Daniel," my father corrected, gentle as a blade. "I'll lift what's safe." "What's safe is what we say is safe," the foreman shot back. "Safety isn't an accent," my father replied. "It's a rule. And rules aren't hobbies." A guy with a badge laughed into his fist. Another pressed a finger to his lips, swallowing agreement like medicine. The union rep checked his phone. I saw loyalty evaporate against rent and diapers and fear. That night, my father held my hands over the table. "Steady," he said. "Fill the cup to the brim." "It'll spill," I warned. "It will if you look at their faces," he said. "It won't if you look at your knuckles. See? You control what your muscles do, not what their mouths do." I poured. The line trembled, then held. "Dignity is armor," he repeated. "Armor is training. Train your calm. Train your words. Train your no." "Teach me the words," I said. He smiled into his tired. "Start with your name. Then say what you do, not what you are to them. I serve. Not I'm the help. I deserve, not I'm lucky to be here. Then say no when no is due. Say it softly so they have to lean in." "What if they push?" I asked. "They will," he said. "Push back by standing up inside yourself. That frightens them more than shouting." Another week he limped home and leaned against the counter. "They moved me off phones," he said, almost joking. "Apparently my vowels scare customers." "Customers?" I echoed, fire licking my throat. He shrugged one shoulder. I told them machines don't mind my vowels. Machines mind maintenance. The supervisor said maintenance starts with image. I told him maintenance starts with dignity. What did he say? I asked. He said, be grateful, my father answered, and the word hung there with mildew and debt. Grateful is a leash when they use it like that. Did anyone back you? I wanted a hero. I wanted relief. A janitor left gloves on my bench, he said. Wrong size. Right message. Micro-allies are seeds. You plant them by not bowing. Does it hurt? I whispered. It hurts, he said, and his hand found my hair.
Hurt is not the same as harm.
Harm is when you start believing them. How do I not believe them? I asked. Count something they cannot touch, he said. I count the number of times I do not bend. Makes a spine, he made me count aloud. 1 for my name. 1 for refusing jokes that require my humiliation. 1 for asking for gloves that fit. 1 for writing the complaint even if it sleeps in a drawer. They'll call you difficult, he warned. Wear it like a warning label. Difficult to break. Difficult to buy cheap. He opened his lunchbox and handed me the apple he hadn't eaten. Bite it, he said. Hear the sound? That's how no should sound. Clean, I bit. It cracked like a promise. Tonight, at this table of money and mimicry, I mouthed the word he taught me. No, not shouted, set into the grain of me. The CEO's voice scrapes my ear from a memory away. Say portfolio again, he jeers in my head, and my father answers him not with volume but with weight. You work faster when you're respected, he says through me. You live longer when you're not pretending to be smaller. I tell my father inside, they think money is armor. He answers, money is a wall. Armor moves. They laughed, I report to him from the battlefield of linen and crystal. They need to, he says. It keeps them from hearing your steps. I want them to hear. They will, he promises. Not when you ask. When you act. I'm a waitress, I argue, half defeated, half ready. You are your father's child, he says. You carry an old shield. Lift it. I'm scared, I confess. Fear is a tool, he replies. Aim it, don't sip it. What if I mispronounce a word? I ask, hating that I care. Then you teach them a better word, he says. Dignity. Say it clean. Dignity, I repeat, testing the blade. Good, he says. Now sharpen it with patience. I see him in the factory line, refusing the nickname, refusing the shrug, refusing the offer to trade hours for silence. I see his boss write Danny on the schedule again, and I see my father cross it out in pen, not rage. I see the men clock out without him, kindness left in their pockets because fear paid more. I see him walk home anyway, not bowed, only tired. Did you ever want to quit? I had asked once. I wanted to be seen, he said. Quitting doesn't buy visibility. Courage does. How do I hold it? With your breath, he instructed. In for yourself, out for the people who can't speak in that room. I inhale now, long enough to feel my ribs count themselves present. I exhale for every name the CEO mangled for sport, for every schedule erased, for every glove that didn't fit, for every complaint that slept. Stand, my father says. I am, I answer. Straighter, he insists. Straighter, I echo. And I feel my spine lengthen like a measure taken. The tray warms under my fingers. The laughter thins into background noise. The armor seats itself on my shoulders, not heavy, just present. I'm going back in, I tell him. Go, he says. Don't bow. Don't bruise yourself to keep their glasses full. I'll pour, I promise, and I'll refuse the spill. Good, he says. Make your nose sound like an apple. I touch the door with my hip and the hall breathes at me. Dignity, I repeat, a quiet password, and I step forward. Spine straighter, heart steadier, the path lit by the man who refused to bend so I would know how to stand. I brought your wine, I say, holding the tray like a shield I know how to use. She brought our wine, the CEO crows, stretching vowels until they squeal. Do the thing again. Say Chateau Margaux like a bedtime story. Would you like another pour of the Chateau Margaux? I ask even. Chateau Margaux, he hoots, punching the air with his fork. Adorable. A throat clears near the rim of the table. That wasn't funny, a man says. Not loud, but not hiding. The CEO swivels, grin lacquered. Relax, it's a joke. It sounds like punching down, the man answers. His napkin stays in his lap. His eyes stay on me. My chest warms in a different way. Not safety, but friction turning to heat. A woman across from me murmurs, barely above the hum, "It's cruel, not clever." Cruel. The CEO laughs harder. Cruel is making me drink anything that isn't burgundy. She's fine. Aren't you fine, sweetheart? I'm working, I say. Well, fine isn't a task, see? He tells them, delighted. She's got lines. Someone taps a spoon against a plate to change the subject. What's the next lot? He asks the air. Silence slinks back to its corner, pretending not to watch me. I hear my father. Armor moves. I shift my feet but not my ground. Top up? I ask the man who spoke. He nods. His hand shakes just enough to betray the cost of speaking. Thanks, he says quietly. And sorry. For what? I ask. For laughing earlier, he admits, voice tight. Momentum. It pulls. It only pulls what lets itself be pulled, I say. The CEO snorts. She's a philosopher. Next, she'll unionize the nouns. Another woman at the edge of the group leans toward me as if examining the bottle. Her voice threads the veil of conversation. You don't owe him performance. I know, I answer. The CEO leans back, stagey. Do the name again, he orders. Say mine, but with your music. Would you prefer your steak now, I say, or after the next lot? After you sing, he smirks. After the next lot, I repeat. A manager glides up to my elbow, breath tucked behind a smile. All good here? He asks the table in a voice that kneels to money. Perfect, the CEO says. Except your staff thinks she's above her station. The manager tilts his head, then turns it slightly toward me. Keep it light, he whispers. Make the guests comfortable. I'm not the one making the room uncomfortable, I answer. Shh, he breathes, the softest leash. We have donors. I have a spine, I say. The CEO claps once, sharp. There we go. She bites. Tell you what, if you pronounce portfolio diversification, I'll double the tip. Tips don't buy permission, I say. Everything buys permission, he replies. That's how permission works. The man who spoke earlier clears his throat again. Stronger now. Let her do her job. She is, the CEO counters. She's entertaining us. She's serving you, the woman says. You're entertaining yourself. He waves a dismissal that could swat lives. If you want earnest, go to church. If you want results, come to dinner with me. I watch faces tilt away like blinds shutting. I watch knuckles grip cutlery the way fear grips mortgages. I watch a smile grow stiff on the manager's mouth as he calculates which way loyalty pays. I think silence is a currency. Tonight, the exchange rate looks brutal. I speak anyway. Here's your water, I say, placing the glass. No ice. You preferred it that way last round? Look at that, he says, memory. If only she had a sense of humor to match. If only your humor had a sense to match, the woman mutters. He hears it. He decides to make it sport. You object, madam? I object to cruelty marketed as wit, she answers, still quiet but no longer hiding. Cruelty marketed as wit, he repeats, mocking the cadence the way he mocked my vowels. You two should start a podcast. The Accent and the Ethicist. The accent has a name, I say. Everything has a name, he says. Some names carry weight. Some carry trays. I carry both, I tell him. Bold, he grins. Say equity. Equity? I look at him. In pay, in tone, in room to breathe? Cute, he says. Performative. The auctioneer's voice rises. Signature lot approaching. Applause flows in. Relief tries to escort the moment off stage. I hold it by the sleeve. Your steak, I remind him. Make it bloody, he says, eyes on me like I owe him flinch. Like the last time someone corrected me. I won't bleed for your punchlines, I reply. The table rustles. The man who defended me coughs a little laugh, surprised at himself. Order steak, not accents, he says, louder. There's a ripple. Tiny, but there. The manager inhales through his teeth. Please, he whispers at me, de-escalate. Then he has to stop climbing, I answer. The younger waitress passes behind me close enough to share warmth. You're not alone, she breathes, eyes forward, tray high. I know, I say, feeling the sentence land in my ribs like a brace. The CEO leans toward her. You too? Union by whisper? Cute, she doesn't answer him. She answers me. Kitchen needs 2 minutes on the beef, she says. Do you want me to run the wine so you can breathe? I'm breathing, I tell her. I'm just done inhaling insults. The woman at the edge nods. That, she says, finally looking me straight in the face. The CEO huffs a laugh that drags instead of lifts. All right, choir, he says. Hymns later. Auction now. Then stop using me as your intermission, I say. He startles at the directness, repairs it with a grin. You won't always have a crowd, he says. Careful who you teach to speak. I'm teaching myself, I answer. They're just overhearing. The man raises his glass toward me, small, not showy. To doing your job without swallowing your name. A few clinks answer him. Not many. Enough to hear. The manager steps back, torn between metrics and mercy. He settles on neither. Let me know if I can assist, he says, which means please survive this quietly. I am assisting, I say. I'm assisting the room's conscience. The CEO rolls his eyes so hard I can hear the disdain. Conscience doesn't clear checks, he says. Neither does cruelty, I reply. It writes them. Someone else pays. Who? He scoffs. Everyone who laughs, I say. And everyone too frightened to stop. He opens his mouth, then closes it. He laughs again, louder than he needs to. The sound tries to refill the space the whispers just borrowed. It doesn't. I feel it. The hairline fractures traveling through the performance. The man's voice cracking the lacquer. The woman's sentence threading under the tablecloth. The younger waitress's breath becoming a bridge. The manager's uncertainty leaking from his smile. Tiny shifts. None heroic alone, together enough to tilt the floor. I set down the last glass. If you need anything, I tell the table, ask without making me the joke. The woman nods. The man murmurs, fair. The CEO smirks, but it's the kind that checks itself in the reflection of a different crowd. We'll see, he says. We will, I answer. The auctioneer calls the room to attention again. Numbers gather at the threshold like weather. I step back, feel the weight of the tray, feel the lighter weight of not being solitary. I think silence breaks by degrees. Whispers are chisels. I breathe once for myself and once for everyone here who swallowed their names tonight. I turn toward the aisle, spine a little taller, sense sharpened to the possibility that a room like this can learn a new sound. The highlight, the auctioneer announces, voice ringing like a bell I feel in my ribs. A controlling stake in my company, the CEO interrupts, loud, amused, already preening. Try not to mispronounce it. I whisper to myself, control, and the word tastes like iron. Did you hear? He calls to his table. They're selling history, mine. Watch how adults play. A man near him laughs too quickly. This'll be a show. It's always a show, the CEO says. And I headline. I stand at the back, tray steady, heart unsheathed. The air tightens. Opening at 20 million, the auctioneer calls. 20, someone says. 22, another voice answers. 25, the CEO snaps as if swatting flies. Try and keep up. I breathe through my teeth. Numbers, I tell my pulse, are only loud if you fear them. Should I bring dessert menus? I ask a cluster of guests by the aisle. Dessert later, one mutters, eyes fixed forward. I can't miss this. Of course, I say. Nobody misses the part where a man proves money is a language. 30, a bidder calls. 32, the CEO answers, bored. Wake me at 50. A woman from earlier, my quiet ally, leans toward me as I pass. You okay? I'm working, I say. You don't have to be stone, she whispers. I'm armor, I answer. Armor moves. 40, a voice says. 45, another snaps. The CEO laughs. They're renting bravado. I own it. 50. 52, the auctioneer confirms. Do I hear 55? 55 comes from the back. Cute, the CEO says. 60. My tray hums against my palm. Breathe, I tell my lungs. In for me, out for everyone who ever swallowed an insult to keep a job. The manager glides near. Stay clear of the aisle, he whispers. High-value moment. I notice, I say. Also, keep smiling, he adds, eyes flicking to the CEO. He's influential. In what? I ask. In our donor book, the manager answers, which means in the list of people we let rewrite rules. 65, someone calls. 70, the CEO fires, not even sitting up. Don't make me work. I feel the room shift, the rustle of napkins, the hush before storms of numbers. Hands rise, fall, rise again. Mouths shape values like prayers. Do you think he'll buy it back? A man near me asks his date. He always wins, she says. That's the point of him. The point, I repeat under my breath, is due for editing. 72 from the left. 75, the CEO smirks. Look how vowels are supposed to sound when they're expensive. Expensive, I echo. Soft enough for only me. Or loud. A younger waitress brushes my elbow. Need me to take the tray? She asks. I'm holding it, I say. You're shaking, she warns. From power, I lie, and it almost feels true. 80, someone breathes. The CEO rolls his neck. 85, he says, and his cadence flickers. This is charity for the board. A guest near me whispers. People like us don't even get to watch most of the time. People like us. I let it land. We're watching, I say. We're timing our steps. 90, another voice calls, calm, distant. 95, the CEO spits, finally awake. Do I hear 100? The auctioneer urges, a drummer pushing a march. 100, floats from the back like a stone through glass. Gasps tick the room like a Geiger counter. I feel heat rise between my shoulder blades. I count my breath. 1, 2, 3. The CEO wipes at nothing on his sleeve. 105, he says, lighter than he feels. Please don't faint. The staff might trip. A man near me chuckles on cue, then stiffens when he hears himself. I look at him. Was it funny? I ask. No, he admits. Habit. Habits are leashes, I say. We can cut them. He nods without nodding, eyes forward. Guilt, small but visible. 110 comes swift. 115, the CEO counters. Jaw working now. The manager returns, breath tight. All good? I'm good, I say. Stay neutral, he pleads. Neutral is an address, I answer. I don't live there. Please, he says. Which means I can't protect you if this turns. You never could, I say, not cruel. Just true. 120, another bidder says. 125, the CEO shoots back, then sneers toward me. Sweetheart, bring me luck. Pour something that believes in me. I serve liquids, I reply. Not faith. Faith is for the poor, he says. We buy outcomes, we write receipts, I say. Even if you don't read them. A few eyes flick to me, then away. Complicity is shy until it pays. Then it's loud. 130 floats out. 135, the CEO throws, a little late. Do I hear 140? The auctioneer pressurizes, voice gleaming. 140. Arrives like a note that knows the song. I swallow. My mouth is dry. My hands are dry. My history is anything but. The CEO laughs without smiling. 145. Your water, I tell him, setting the glass down. Still no ice, and make it a memory, he says. This is the moment you watched a god stretch. This is the moment I watched a man reach, I say, and feel his arms. Cute, he repeats, but the word doesn't sit well in his mouth anymore. 150, says the calm voice. The room inhales together. The chandelier breathes. My bones listen. The CEO's tongue wets his lip. 152. He leans back, pretending ease. Not even warm. Do you want dessert menus now? I ask the table. All innocence, all option. We'll eat after victory, he says. You mean after payment, I say. His eyes cut to me. Know your place. I do, I answer. It's where I decide which words enter me. Security, he murmurs to no one in particular. And the word floats away, useless without a spine to carry it. 155, another bidder tries. Thin as paper. 160, the calm voice returns, steel and silk. I feel my heart hammer. I hear my father say no like an apple. I taste it, clean, crisp, necessary. The man who spoke up earlier edges his glass toward me. Water, please, he says soft. For courage. For both of us, I tell him, pouring. In out? He lifts the glass, not to the CEO, but to me. To armor. To movement, I answer. 162, the CEO pushes, breath showing. The auctioneer paces the numbers like a metronome. At 162. Do I hear 165? A woman whispers at my elbow. This feels ugly. It always did, I say. Now it looks like itself. Do we let it? She asks. We name it, I say. Then we act. The tray dips and I recenter it. I feel the paddle's edge under the linen at my hip. Cool as a secret. Waiting, patient as a plan. 165. the calm voice decides. Sweat beads at the CEO's temple. He dabs with a napkin hard enough to bruise the cloth. 170, he growls, snapping the number like a threat. I hear the younger waitress behind me. Breathe, she whispers. You're close. I know, I say. I'm about to speak without speaking. What does that mean? She asks. You'll hear it, I tell her. The auctioneer's voice lifts. At 170. Fair warning. Warning taken, I whisper. Any advance? He calls, offering the room a chance to become different. I awake, I say under my breath. My hand lowers the tray to a side stand. My fingers find the linen seam. My palm slides to the hidden edge that changes the weather. Last call, the auctioneer sings. Call me, I think, and I feel the armor settle. My pulse steadies like a countdown hitting 0. I step from the shadow of the wall, not loud, not grand, just chosen. My chance to speak without words is here. At 170, the auctioneer says, breath held between syllables. Fair warning. Going once, going twice, sold, I say before his gavel kisses wood. The room inhales. The word leaves my mouth clean like an apple. Sold, the auctioneer echoes, startled into agreement. To identify your paddle, please. Hold this, I tell the younger waitress. She takes my tray like it's a promise. I won't spill it, she whispers. You won't, I answer, untying my apron. Neither will I. The knot slides free. I fold the cloth, place it on the side stand, and step into the aisle. Paddle number. The auctioneer presses, voice climbing. I raise it from my hip, the linen slip falling away. 314. Gasps ricochet like dropped glass. The CEO barks a laugh that can't find its footing. Cute, staff theater? Sit down, sweetheart. I'm standing, I say. And I'm the bidder of record. The manager appears at my shoulder, voice sugar, hands trembling. Please, he hisses, you're making a scene. A scene was made, I answer. When you decided his comfort was the room's law. Security. The CEO snaps, pointing a fork as if it were authority. She's not a buyer. She's a prop, the auctioneer peers over his glasses. Name for the ledger. My name, I say, letting it land, is Aisha Daniel. I tilt the paddle once. I'm here on behalf of the Dignity Workers Fund. The man who'd cleared his throat earlier lifts his chin. Let her finish. Dignity what? The CEO sneers. The charity for accents? The syndicate that pre-cleared funds before you mocked the woman holding your water, I say. Check your desk. We sent the letter you didn't read. A woman at his table whispers. She registered. She's asking the heir, not me. I registered, I say. With money you said didn't speak my language. The auctioneer nods to a clerk. The clerk nods back. Funds verified, the auctioneer announces, surprise caged behind procedure. Controlling stake in Verena Holdings. Sold to bidder 314, Ms. Aisha Daniel. Dignity Workers Fund. The word sold lands like a door shutting. Then the room splits. One side applause, the other stunned silence. Both I hear a new sound. My own pulse settling. That's impossible, the CEO spits. You don't have that kind of capital. You don't have that kind of scrutiny, I say. We brought both. He leans forward, red creeping up his neck. You think you can buy me? I didn't buy you, I tell him. I bought accountability. On whose back, he snaps. Whose daddy's money are you laundering into a headline? My father's overtime was erased on your supply line, I say. We're laundering nothing. We're reclaiming what underpaid hands built. A murmur rolls through the room, smudged guilt searching for exits. The manager swallows. Aisha, he pleads, don't ruin your future over a moment. My future, I say, keeping my voice even, is not your tip jar. The younger waitress edges closer, a soft anchor. Do you need me? I need you to stand, I say. I can do that, she answers, and her tray squares on her palm like a flag. You can't do this, the CEO insists. You're not serious buyers. You're optics. Optics don't wire escrow, I reply. We did. We read the debt covenants you signed at 3 a.m. We read the severance packages you shaved to keep comps happy. We read the emails where you called us noise. We decided to become signal. The woman ally speaks, audible now. Let her speak. She tells the table that hid behind napkins. You had your turn. The man lifts his glass toward me. To name said correctly, he says, and the clink around him is small, real, risky. The CEO tries to laugh again. It sounds like a cough. What's your angle? Flip it for press? Parade around like a hero? My angle is straight, I say. We stabilize the factory towns you bled. We audit supply chains you outsourced to dodge human lives. We put workers on the board you treated like a trophy case. We pronounce their names as if pay depends on it, because it does. Board, he scoffs. You don't step into my boardroom. I chair it, I answer, and I don't blink. Per the proxy you didn't bother to read. You'll find the clause under change in control. It applies to you. Lies, he says, but his eyes dart to legal like guilty birds. You can't fire me. I didn't say fire, I tell him. I said chair. Your contract will teach you the difference. And the timeline. The auctioneer, grateful for the rope of rules, clears his throat. We'll proceed to the next lot, he says. But nobody fully returns. Attention sticks to the rip where the old performance tore. The manager tries one more whisper. We can talk about this later. They dragged my accent in public, I say. I'm not hiding my name in a side room. Don't play martyr, the CEO snarls. You poured drinks. Now you want to pour policies. You'll drown. I poured dignity when you tried to spill it, I answer. And I don't drown. I swim where you can't buy the current. Get her out, he says to no one brave. Eyes slide. Hands stay. Shoes keep secrets. Silent complicity stares at the floor again, measuring rent against backbone, you see, I say, turning to the crowd that taught me how expensive courage feels. Silence costs. It comes due with interest. A man in a tux coughs apology at the tablecloth. We didn't know. You knew, I say. You learned to call it banter. The woman ally tips her chin. And we learned to call it dinner. Not tonight, I say. The younger waitress breathes. Say it. I face the CEO. You mocked my mouth because it made your power feel taller, I tell him. You're about to learn how my name sounds in your minutes. He shakes his head, forehead pale, lips tightening around the taste of unfamiliar truth. This is theft. This is purchase, I say. Theft is what you renamed to fit and chemistry when you took from people like my father. He stares at my raised paddle like it's an instrument he's never seen. The room watches the color drain from his certainty. I watch it too. Not because pallor is my victory, but because consequence has a face. The auctioneer tries to resume. Next lot, he announces, paper trembling. A rare... Keep your lot, I tell him gently. I have mine. I turn back to the CEO. We'll meet at 9 a.m., I say. Bring your keys. Bring your humility. Bring a pen that writes the names you've shortened into nicknames. He swallows. You're not serious. I have been serious since the first time someone laughed at the way my father said his own name, I answer. I brought that seriousness to your door. It owns the hinges now. The whispers around us thicken into a new weather. Awe, fear, relief with nowhere to sit. Micro-allies straighten. Silent ones fidget. Betrayal tests its teeth. Justice laces its boots. Dignity is armor, I say, not to him this time, but to my own spine. And armor moves. Every eye swings to him. Mine do too. I watch power blink, unsure how language can undo a throne. I lower the paddle, not because the moment is over, but because the next one has begun. Confirm it, I say, holding the paddle low, voice steady. Name the sale. The record shows bidder 314. The auctioneer answers, consulting the clerk. Funds in escrow. Verification complete. A cluster of suits edges toward me. Ms. Danielle? One asks. General Counsel for Verena. Are you asserting control? I'm asserting what I bought, I reply. Proxy consents are filed. Change in control clause is live. Call the transfer agent. Call your board. That's absurd, the CEO snaps. She pours wine. I sign minutes, I say. Tonight, a man with a silver tie clears his throat. I'm on the board, he says, eyes never quite meeting mine. Is this legitimate? Say the word legitimate to the clerk, I tell him. Listen to the answer. The clerk lifts a tablet. Escrow receipt confirmed, he reads. Bidder of record. Dignity Workers Fund, represented by Ms. Aisha Daniel. Settlement scheduled per terms. Per terms, I repeat. Proceed. The CEO barks a laugh that looks for allies. You don't run my company with theater. You ran it with it, I answer. I'll run it with rules. Counsel, he orders, pointing his rage like a flashlight. Stop this. Counsel looks at him, then at me. Your contract, he says carefully, requires an immediate board session upon transfer of control. Emergency session is appropriate. There is no emergency, the CEO growls. You created one, I reply, when you taught your people that cruelty is culture. Board members, a woman says from 2 rows back. We warned him last quarter. I turn toward the voice. What did you warn him? That the whistleblower rate doubled, she says. He called it background noise. Noise, I say, letting the word find him. Meet signal. The manager hovers at my elbow, voice on tiptoe. Aisha, please let us smooth this. You smoothed insults while they happened, I answer. You can roughen consequences. He inhales through his teeth. He evaluates rent, reputation, survival. Tell me what you need, he says, switching sides without announcing it. 2 rooms, I say. 1 for board, 1 for workers who came as guests. Coffee for both. No scripts. Right away, he says, relief attaching to obedience. The CEO spreads his arms to the crowd. Shareholders, don't encourage this. You know value when you see it. A hand rises near the aisle. I saw overtime disappear, a small investor says. Then you called it efficiency. Another voice joins, firmer. I saw safety budget trimmed to protect your bonus. You're misinformed, the CEO snaps. You trained us to be, I say. And you called it leadership. Legal, he insists. This is slander. It's a record, I answer. We'll let the minutes speak. General Counsel adjusts his glasses. Per bylaws, we can designate an acting chair pending confirmation. I accept, I say. You can't, the CEO hisses. I did, I reply. The board man in the silver tie leans in. For the record, he mutters, I abstain. You always did, I tell him. That's why we're here. The younger waitress slides close enough to share breath. Water? She whispers. For the people telling the truth, I say. Yes, she nods, and I hear the tray steady on her palm like a vote. Security, the CEO calls again, louder. Remove her. 2 guards appear at the edge of my vision, unsure which gravity to obey. Gentlemen, I say, turning to them, at the request of majority shareholders and council, please escort Mr. Hargreaves to a private room while the board convenes. This is to preserve order and digital access. You don't give orders, the CEO snarls. I do until the board replaces me, I say, which they won't tonight. 1 guard glances to counsel. Counsel nods. This is appropriate, he says. This is a circus, the CEO spits, backing toward the table he used as a stage. You can't humiliate me. You rehearse that part, I answer. I'm directing the exit. Shareholders, he pleads, turning in a circle that makes his reflection lonely. You know me. A woman folds her napkin in half. I do, she says. That's the problem. The man who first spoke for me lifts his voice. We want accountability, he says, no tremor now. Start there. The guards step in. Sir, one says, almost gentle, this way. He jerks his arm. Don't touch me. Then walk, I say. We're trying not to add charges to the minutes. He stops struggling. Not because he agrees, but because the math got hard. This isn't over, he snarls at me. I hope not, I reply. Over would mean no audits. You'll burn value, he warns. I'll burn rot, I say. Value is what grows after. The guards flank him. He sucks in air like a broken bellows and moves. Faces tilt down. Shoes study carpet. Betrayal takes the shape of people who can't afford to clap. As he passes the younger waitress, she doesn't step back. She just says, watch your step. It lands like a sentence. He glares and the door receives him. The room exhales, high and shaky. The quiet after cruelty isn't peace. It's inventory. Counsel, I say. Announce what matters. He clears his throat, clinging to precedent. Sale confirmed. Emergency board session in 10 minutes. Pending that session, the CEO is placed on administrative leave per Section 12B of the employment agreement. Access to company systems will be suspended. Preservation order is in effect. Preserve everything, I add. Emails, chats, bonuses, nicknames that became policies. We'll need an instruction list, he says. You'll have it by midnight, I tell him. Short, sharp, auditable. The silver tie director leans in again. What do you want from us? Spines, I say. Then budgets that match your mouths. He winces. We can work with some of this. You worked with all of that, I say, nodding toward the door the CEO used. That's how we got here. The manager returns with a stack of folders that weren't mine an hour ago. Boardroom is ready, he announces, trying to make competence erase history. Workers' room? I ask. Also ready, he says. Send invites to both, I tell him. No NDAs at the door. People tell the truth better without leases on their tongues. The woman ally steps closer. Do you want a statement? She asks. Later, I say. I want minutes first. Then policies. Then names, she nods. Say my name correctly when you need me, she says. She does, and I repeat it back. That's how trust counts. A donor in a tux loosens his bow tie and edges near. I laughed earlier, he confesses, cheeks hot with a new math. It felt required. It was, I say. The requirement expires now. Can I help? He asks. You can vote, I answer. And you can stop renting your conscience to the highest noise. The auctioneer finally finds his microphone again. We will take a brief intermission, he says, voice stitched back together. Take a breath, I tell the room. The next sound needs you honest. The younger waitress presses a cold glass into my palm. For you, she whispers. For the fund, I say, and we both understand I mean the people who never got a seat and still held up the table. I drink. Calm doesn't taste like victory. It tastes like focus. Armor, I remind my spine. Moves, it answers, lengthening me. I watch the door where they took him. I watch the corridor that leads to papers, meetings, votes. Justice doesn't strut. It fills forms and holds lines. It asks for witnesses and signs in blue ink. Board in 10, counsel says. I'll be there in 5, I answer. I owe someone a promise before I sit. Who? He asks. Everyone who learned to call cruelty dinner, I say. I'm changing the menu. I exhale, and the room presses back with the weight of all the lives this moment touches. My victory is cold and clean, but it isn't private. It never was. I set the glass down, gather the folders, and move toward the work that will make this more than a scene. The gavel echoes in my bones even after the sale is done. The air tastes different now, sharper, cleaner, though shame lingers like smoke in the corners. A man in a velvet jacket edges toward me, glass trembling in his hand. We should have spoken sooner, he whispers, as if volume could hide guilt. You spoke with your silence, I answer. It carried further than any words. He flinches, then nods. I laughed because it was easier. But it wasn't right. It never is, I say. Laughter is cruelty's favorite disguise. Another guest steps forward, pearls still shining at her throat. I'm sorry, she says, not quite meeting my eyes. I told myself it was just a joke. That was a lie. You sold yourself comfort, I tell her. Cheap, it cost me dignity. Her shoulders curl in. How do we fix it? Stop pretending, I reply. Call cruelty by its name while it's still being spoken, not after. She nods, but I see hesitation. The old leash of reputation pulling tight. A younger voice breaks the pattern. The waitress who whispered strength into me earlier runs up, tray abandoned, arms wrapping around me before I can brace. Tears spill hot on my shoulder. You stood tall when they tried to break you, she cries. You showed me we don't have to shrink. My throat tightens. I stood because my father taught me armor. I stood because you reminded me I wasn't alone. You were fire, she says. And I want to be fire too. You already are, I whisper, holding her closer. You lit me when the room tried to snuff me out. Around us, more guests shuffle forward. Apologies falling like late rain. I told myself it was none of my business. I thought staying quiet kept the peace. I was afraid of losing my seat. Each confession slices me raw. Not because they wound, but because they admit to wounds they let fester. You feared losing a seat, I tell them, while I was losing my name in your laughter. That's the arithmetic of silence. One man dares to ask, did we betray you? You betrayed yourselves, I reply. Because when silence joins cruelty, it teaches it to last longer. The room holds its breath. Feel my father's voice pushing up through me, steady and stern. Silence, I say, louder now, cracking in the middle, is the loudest weapon racism holds. It doesn't need a joke, a slur, a shove. It only needs your quiet. No one laughs. No one clinks a glass to distract. The truth settles heavy, unavoidable. The younger waitress steps back, eyes red but steady. Then I'll never be quiet again, she vows. Neither will I, says the man who had first defended me in a whisper. His voice carries farther this time. I won't either, the woman with pearls adds. Shame softening into resolve. Apologies shift into promises. Fragile but present. This is how it begins, I tell them. Not with applause after the harm is done, but with courage while the harm is happening. The next time you hear the joke, you cut it. The next time you see the sneer, you name it. The younger waitress grips my hand, squeezing hard. We'll name it together. Together, I echo, and for the first time tonight, the word doesn't taste like loneliness. I look around at the faces, some earnest, some still wrestling with the cost of siding with truth, and I realize this moment isn't about the company I bought or the man escorted out. It's about the fractures in the silence that finally let sound through. I exhale, long, the weight of years easing in pieces. My armor no longer feels heavy. It feels worn in, shaped to me. I need air, I say quietly, and the younger waitress nods. Go, she whispers. We'll hold this room until you return. I step outside, night air rushing cold against my face, lungs opening wider than they have in hours. The city hums, indifferent, but inside me, my father's voice hums louder. Dignity is the armor, he reminds me, alive in my chest. And you wore it well. I did, I answer him in the dark. And I'll keep wearing it until silence no longer buys cruelty time. The stars scatter above me. Not laughing, not mocking, just steady, just present. I stand beneath them. Breathing free, armor light, spine tall, ready for what tomorrow will demand. The night air cools the fire in my chest, but it doesn't put it out. My breath leaves me slow, each exhale carrying fragments of voices I've carried for years. My father's warnings, my own defiance, the laughter that tried to crush me. They mocked your name. Baba, I whisper into the dark. But I said mine tonight, and they had to hear it. I think of the room behind me, all that polished silence, all those polished shoes. They weren't empty of conscience, they were heavy with it, buried under fear. Racism doesn't always scream. Most nights it whispers in the pauses where courage should live. One voice said, "That wasn't funny." Another whispered, "It's cruel." They were cracks. Small, fragile, late, but cracks. I stood in those cracks and widened them until the whole room had to look. That is how silence shatters. Racism thrives when silence reigns. I murmur, and the words land like a stone I've been holding too long. My father told me dignity was armor. He was right. But armor alone only deflects. Tonight I learned courage is the sword. Armor without sword is survival. Armor with sword is change. The younger waitress's tears are still wet on my sleeve. Her hug was more than gratitude. It was a baton passed, a vow whispered. We won't be quiet again. That vow matters more than the company papers, more than the balance sheets. Because racism is clever. It survives in boardrooms and dining halls alike, but it collapses when voices refuse to bow. I close my eyes and see the CEO's smirk fade into pallor, his jokes eaten by consequence. I don't rejoice in his ruin. I rejoice in the truth finally writing itself into the minutes. Stand when others fall silent, I say softly, as if the stars themselves need the reminder. Because justice starts with one voice. One whisper can tilt a room. One refusal can break a chain. One name said correctly can reset the table. My voice cracks, but it doesn't falter. Don't wait for applause after the cruelty. Don't wait until the gavel falls. Speak when the wound is fresh, when the laughter still rings. That's when it counts. I think of my father again, how he faced theft disguised as overtime policy, how he carried silence in his break room, how he still came home standing. He bent to bolts but never to contempt. His armor lit the path, but tonight I carried the sword he never got to swing. The weight of the moment presses me, but it no longer crushes. It steadies. I know the cost of being the first to speak. It bruises, it isolates. It makes the room colder before it makes it warm. But it also plants the word enough into ears that pretended not to hear. Inside, the board will meet. Papers will be signed. Systems will change. That is business. But outside, under the night sky, I speak to something larger. The habit of silence that feeds cruelty. I raise my chin. If you ever sit at that table, any table, don't trade dignity for comfort. Don't rent your conscience to the highest bidder. Break the joke. Stop the sneer. Call the theft. Your voice won't sound polished. It'll sound human. and that's enough. I feel the quiet of the city wrap me, not the choking kind, but the kind that listens. My name is Aisha Danyal, I say into it, and tonight I stood. Tomorrow so can you. I let the words settle, softer than a shout, sharper than a blade. They belong to anyone who's ever swallowed pain to keep a seat. Justice doesn't roar at first. It begins as a whisper refusing to be silent. And so I leave the night with one call, soft but unshakable. Stand when others fall silent, because justice starts with one voice. The words walk with me into the dark. Armor light, sword steady, my father's echo alive in my chest.